Councillor Joanna Midgley. Hi.
Hi.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're saying the government trying their best to get rid of the homelessness. I just want to ask you a question, probably that's out of your specific duty, Councillor, but I would like to know your opinion about it.
That's a really good question. So that's a really difficult question to spring on me.
It was a pleasure for me talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all right?
Councillor Joanna Midgley. Hi.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much for accepting this interview.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, let me start with first question. Many residents feel that council decisions are made behind closed doors with limited public input. How do you justify the current level of transparency, and what specific steps will you take to rebuild the public trust?
So I think it's really important that people have trust in local institutions and public institutions, and we do try and involve the public in some ways wherever we can. I know some of those big decisions look like they are made behind closed doors, but for example, the budget that we set recently, we do have to do a statutory consultation. So that was out, I think it was for 6 weeks, and we got everyone's feedback, and we did acknowledge that feedback and look into it, and we have acted on some of the priorities that people want to see. For example, people have said very heavily that they want investment in keeping the city cleaner and greener, which we've done. So we do try and consult with the public. Obviously, not all the public respond, so unless the public responds to them, then we can't cover speaking to everybody. I think locally, if you take it down to more grassroots level, so local councils do have lots of links with their wards. There are 32 wards in Manchester, and so hopefully through when it gets down to very local areas, local councils have discussions with people in their wards about what they want to see money spent on, for example. So no, in my ward, one of the big issues is about road safety. So we've got a bit of funding now that we're going to try, and it's not a lot and it's not going to solve everything, but we're going to direct it to that because we know it's what people have told us. We know that I went to visit a school, and they told me really strongly that one of the things they wanted was a toilet in the park. Now, again, can't promise it, but we're looking at how we can use some local money to facilitate that. So I don't think that, I think we do try and incorporate residents' wishes in the way that we spend our money and the things we do, but there's always room for more. And I think that we are doing a piece of work at the minute through our Making Manchester Fairer programme, which is about reducing health inequalities. But one of the big themes of that is about tackling systemic racism and institutional racism, and also giving communities more power. So that's it's kind of early stages, but we recognise that people need to feel involved in decisions in order to take kind of pride in their neighbourhood and pride in their city and feel valued and feel part of it. So we are looking at how we do that. It's really important to us, and we're not ignoring it, and we're trying to find different ways of working on it. And I can send you some more details about the community empowerment work.
Despite the council's pledges, Manchester's housing crisis continues to worsen. Do you accept that the current strategy has failed? And if not, how do you measure its success?
Okay, well, obviously success would be that everyone has a safe, secure home that is affordable to them. A home is the bedrock of everything else, isn't it? So if you've got a place to live where you can call your own home, it helps you with education, with getting a job, with good health. We know that. So this is a really complicated question, and I need to go back a bit in time, because the housing crisis in Manchester isn't just in Manchester, it is national. Everywhere in the country. So we need to acknowledge that. So we have got, record numbers of people on our housing register waiting for a home. It's the same in every other city.
Is it what you inherited from the last government?
So there are historic reasons why we have a shortage of housing. And one of them, the obvious one, is we've not built enough houses. We've not built enough houses for many decades, but in particular, the last 15 years in the previous government, in 2010 onwards, was a really difficult time. So I'm not just blaming it on that, because historically we should have been building more all the time. We built loads after the Second World War, and then we never really kept up with that demand, because, do you know what I mean? So there's a historic problem, but the real problem is from 2010 to last year, when the new government came in, because and I'm going to be political now because I'm a member of the Labour Party,
Yes, of course,
and they
yeah.
were Tories. But their ideology, they did not believe in council housing. That they, all their ideology was about private housing. They slashed investment into building social homes, which is council homes in a sense. So, and we had no power to build those homes in Manchester or any councils. So all the funding for social homes was slashed from day one, and they put all their money into. So when you build a house, you need funding from the government because it's expensive. Also, land values are expensive, and so we were just, for the past 15 years, we just have very little chance to build. But we have done our best. And the way we've tackled it in Manchester is we've got a really strong partnership with the registered providers, like the big housing associations and the smaller ones. So as an example, we have gone through the land that we own as a council, and we have given small parcels of land to housing associations to build on. It's called Project 500, and that will give us 500 social homes at the lowest possible rent. The reason that registered providers can do that is because if we provide the land for free, that takes out a huge cost. So they can then get the funding to build the social homes at the subsidised rate. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course it does.
So we're looking at all different options that we can do. Obviously, 500 homes is nowhere near enough, but it is a good, it's a good chunk that will provide people who are homeless or people who are on the housing list a new home. So that's one example.
Okay, so that takes me to the other question
go on then.
about homelessness.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So homelessness is a big issue nowadays.
It's huge.
And as you mentioned, it's not only for the Manchester, it's not a Manchester problem, that's national problem. So as a member of the Labour Party, so what is this government doing regarding the homelessness issue to get rid of it?
Good question. So again, there is a change of government since last year, and immediately that the new government has made a commitment to tackle homelessness, to reduce it, and to build more social homes, which is what we were talking about in the previous question. And there was an announcement yesterday from Angela Rayner about, I can't remember the exact amount, but putting more money into allowing more building of social homes. That is the only way to deal with the housing crisis. To build, we need homes of all types because there's a shortage of all homes, but we need homes that are genuinely affordable for everyone to live in. So to go back to the homelessness crisis, so hand in hand with the housing crisis comes the homelessness crisis.
Yes, of course.
And
so where is the homelessness coming from? Is it coming from the last government? Is it what you're saying?
So
or what you're trying to say?
Again, at the end of the last Labour government in 2010, homelessness was pretty low. Rough sleeping was, it never goes away completely, but it was really low because it was invested in. And what happened over the years of the last government is because lots and lots of things were cut, like support for mental health, support for drug and alcohol services. Rents rose because of the housing shortage. So everything was like the perfect storm to make homelessness increase, and it did. And there are now record numbers of people living in temporary accommodation. So there's two. When we talk about homelessness, there's the visible homelessness that you see people sleeping on the streets. We had done amazing work, and we still have actually done amazing work in Manchester to bring that down. But still we need to do more. But the hidden homelessness that you probably don't see, unless you know someone who's going through it, is people who are maybe evicted from their homes, who have suffered domestic abuse and have to leave it and go and live in temporary accommodation. So temporary accommodation is the temporary accommodation that we give to people while they wait for a social home. So the wait for a social home now is about 5 years. So people can be living in temporary accommodation for about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've got, but again, honestly, in Manchester, I'm not saying it's all sorted. It's not. We've got so much to do, but we have done a huge amount of work so that we don't put people in bed and breakfast. So sometimes if people are made homeless, they're put in a bed and breakfast.
Yes. And
that's really unsuitable because it's got no cooking facilities. People are cramped into a room, often with their kids, all on top of each other.
So what was the good thing about temporary accommodation?
So that's bed and breakfast. That's one type of. So in emergency, that's where local authorities tend to put people, and then they move them into some kind of, I don't know, like a flat or a terraced house or whatever as a temporary accommodation. So we've managed to eliminate people going into bed and breakfast at all, except in dire emergencies. So a couple of years ago, we had like 500 and, I don't know, just hundreds of people in bed and breakfast. We've now got about 10. So we've done a huge amount of work on that, because we know that
Fantastic.
living in one room with no cooker is not good for anybody.
Of course.
However, we've still got massive problems. We've still got about 2,700 people overall, households, sorry. So most of that is families, some is singles, in temporary accommodation. So that is our next big challenge. But until we get the homes for people, we can't.
Takes time.
Yeah. And the three main causes of homelessness are breakdown of family relationships, whether it's with a partner or with family, domestic abuse, which is a huge issue, and the biggest one of all is Section 21 no-fault evictions. So that's where the landlord just decides that they want to put the rent up and this person can't afford to pay it, so they're going to chuck them out, or they want to sell the home to get the money or whatever. So that's called a no-fault eviction. Now, under the new government, that is going to be banned.
Oh.
So that, in the long run, will be really beneficial, because it will be more difficult just to make people homeless. So people will get kind of more assured tenancies where they're more secure in the private rental sector. Because the private rental sector is, it's one aspect. It's a
Yes.
perfectly acceptable,
Of course, yes.
solution to housing. It's just that we need to make the standards better, and we need to make sure that people have rights in those homes.
So you're saying the government trying their best to get rid of the homelessness?
I am confident that we have a government at last who is wanting to try and solve the issues that lead to homelessness. Building more social homes, affordable homes, tackling private landlords who, there's some great private landlords, there's some that aren't. So it's tackling those kind of rogue private landlords that, charge too much money, don't do repairs, damp and mold, all that stuff.
Unfortunately, yes.
And so it's about the whole picture.
It's all about tackling issues.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I just want to ask you a question, probably that's out of your specific duty, Councillor, but I would like to know your opinion about crime rates in some areas remain high. Many residents feel unsafe. Do you believe the council done enough to tackle the root causes of crime, or is it simply reacting to symptoms?
So that's a really good question. So
You're not dealing with the crime in your...
No, crime is not under my portfolio, but obviously as a local councillor, for example, the other night I was actually at a meeting with the police and the community, and they went over, crime varies across the city, so different crimes might be prevalent in certain areas, or crimes kind of change, some crimes are really high, then they drop, and then a different crime. Anyway, so I know that there have been a lot of issues about crime and GMP, but I think we are working together much better with the police, and obviously, again, the police have got lots of improvements to make, but they are making them, and they've also suffered from a huge reduction in resources over the last 15 years. So again, investment is being put back into more police officers, but that will take time to build up. All these things will take time to kind of build back up. But crime is, there's lots of causes of crime, and so... And
again, it's not all about Manchester.
It's not about Manchester.
Unfortunately, it's national, But at the end of the day, you're doing your best to tackle it.
It's about making sure that, we've got good working skills, offers for young people. We've got something called Making Manchester Fairer, which is a whole programme of work to try and focus everyone's mind on, just kind of bringing up living standards for everybody, so that everybody can, have a better life. And that's the thing, isn't it? We want an inclusive city where everyone can thrive and no one is left behind. That's easier said than done, but the things that we do, we are trying to focus on that. And also, making sure that kids are in school.
Yes.
There was something I read, a report about, children who are not in education are more likely to be sucked into crime because they're hanging around on the street. So making sure we've got a good education system, but also that the education is right for the young people, because not all young people cope well with exams and school. Some people need support. It's about all of those factors, isn't it? And acknowledging them all. And also, when crime happens, tackling it and making sure that, they're dealt with and that the police respond. And I think that is something that GMP are working, from my meeting on Monday that I had with them, they're very aware of that, if people report a crime, they are listened to. And you know, for example, if there's a burglary now, I
Yes.
understand that the police have to attend and take a statement. So the victim of that crime, because all crimes have victims, whatever that crime is, don't they? That they feel listened to and heard as well.
And the last question, as a deputy leader, how do you navigate political pressures from both within your party and external advocacy groups? Can you give an example of a time when you had to choose between political loyalty and doing what you believed was right for Manchester?
That's a really difficult question to spring on me.
It's one of those tackling one.
I can think of a really easy one that maybe is a bit not quite as dramatic as you might be after, but a few years ago, in my local ward, this is before I was deputy leader, I was just I don't mean that. I mean, I was a local councillor. There was a death on Princess Parkway, and the local residents, understandably, it's a very busy road, were just because they just wanted something done. We want to make this road safer, and it was really difficult. So I took on their campaign, if you like. So we campaigned for the speed to be reduced to 30 miles an hour from 40. I don't know if you're aware of that. But and at the time, the people who were kind of in the council were a bit like, oh no, I don't think we can do that. We were like, no, we need to do this. This is what the people want locally. It might not solve everything, but it is showing that we're listening. And ultimately, if we reduce the speed, then people should follow it, and it's got to be safer than 40. So yeah, we led a campaign, a local campaign. We were on the radio, in the paper, and we achieved it. And it was great. So I know that's not a big thing about loyalty, but it's sometimes you need to take on what people are saying that might not always be popular with everybody, but it feels right to do it. Because there was a lot of people who said, no, that's terrible. A lot of motorists were like, no, we want to drive at 40 miles an hour. But sometimes you've got to take the right course of action to support residents.
Of course.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Councillor, it was a pleasure for me talking to you.
Thank you.